Good morning, everybody. My name is Paula Ludwig. I am with the Atlantic Institute. I'm one of the event coordinators. This is our cuisine of different cultures, and we're going to do a vegetarian haggis with Mark. If you don't know much about the Atlantic Institute, I'll put a YouTube video in the chat for everybody you can check out later. Also, we have our website, Atlantic Institute. .org. But when you type it in, put Atlantic Institute South Carolina, because we have sister organizations in other states. Our vision is of a peaceful world. And what better way of having a peaceful world than sharing different kinds of cuisine from other cultures? And with that being said, I am going to turn this over to Mark, and he's going to teach us about vegetarian haggis. I am really excited about this. Okay, Mark, it's all yours.
Okay. All right. Looks like I'm unmuted. First of all, Slanjiva. That is the Scottish Gaelic greeting for good health. I hope you all will all have good health, and hopefully this vegetarian haggis will help you get there. Now, first things we're going to talk about, as Eamon follows me around with the camera, I'm sorry, is why haggis, why now? Haggis is the national dish of Scotland, and it being a wintertime heartier food, is usually used with the end of the harvest, where they use up the rest of their oats and the rest of their livestock. Now, the problem with haggis is that a lot of people hear haggis, they go, ew, because they know what traditionally is in it. Yeah, traditionally haggis is made out of sheep bits, basically the lung, the hearts, not intestines, but actually the spleen. They're all chopped up. They're added to oats and different spices. And they are, yes, cooked in a sheep's stomach if you're being ultra traditional with that. What we're doing here is giving you guys an option so you don't have to hunt for sheep, or sheep bits, I'm sorry, or if you just do not want to deal with it in the first place, you're a vegetarian or a vegan, we're giving you an option here. So what we'll start off with is we're going to start off with our ingredients. We have with us today, if you want to see, we're going to start off with, let's see, that is about 1 medium onion, chopped very finely. We're going to have 5 mushrooms, also chopped very finely. I like the portobello mushrooms, the mini portobellos. They just kind of have a better texture for what we're doing here. We have 1 small carrot that we've chopped also semi-finely. It could be a little bit chunky. That's fine. We're going to have 3 tablespoons of peanuts that we'll be chopping shortly. 2 tablespoons of hazelnuts. Then our seasonings, which we'll be using thyme, rosemary, cayenne pepper, and pumpkin pie spice. Now, pumpkin pie spice is going to be a substitute for a mixed blend you'll find in the UK called just mixed spice. And it's very, very close to what you'll have. It actually gives it a little more savory. Everybody thinks of pumpkin pie spice as in pies and a sweeter thing. This will not be a sweet dish. It's going to have the cinnamon and everything kind of bringing a more robust, savory flavor to it. Also, in substitute for our sheep bits, we'll be using dark red kidney beans. So a little bit easier options here. So what we're going to start with is we're going to walk over here. We're going to start with our tablespoon of olive oil, our vegetable olive oil. I'm choosing olive oil today. And we're just going to put that in the pan and get that started just a little bit. We're going to put that on about a medium heat, let that warm up just a bit. And I'm going to pass this over so that can get cleaned. And as that's going, well, that's starting to warm up. What we'll do, I'm sorry, as I walk around everywhere, making Eamon, my assistant here, Eamon is doing all the camera work for us today. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our peanuts while that's warming up, and we're going to chop them. Now, what I like to do, I mean, you can use a blender, you can use a food processor, you can chop them by hand if you want. I just happen to have a coffee grinder, and this thing works great for chopping up nuts. It is fantastic for it. We're just going to pour those in very quickly and make sure we're plugged in, and we're just going to hit it. Make a bit of noise. Let it go for a bit. We're going to give it a little shake because the peanuts don't want to grind. One more time. And I think the larger bits we can fish out and use later. All right, so as the oil's going, it looks like we should be somewhat close to warm. We're just going to spread that out a little bit, just get a good coat on your pan. You don't want it to be deep frying anything. You just want it to be just slightly coated. And I need a spatula. Oh, perfect. Here we go. We're going to put those onions in. And we're going to let those go for about 5 minutes. As we let those saute, I'll come back to this periodically. I'm going to leave that about right there. And I'm going to put this in the sink. So let's see. Next up, as we let those saute, and Marty's actually helping me saute those right now. My lovely and talented wife is sauteing the onions. So why are we doing this in January? Why are we making haggis now? There's a reason for that. January 25th is Burns Night in Scotland. And that is the celebration of the national bard of Scotland, Robert Burns. Now, Robert Burns isn't, you may know of him, but he's fairly uncommon in the US. A lot of people know the name, but they don't know the poetry of him. The best known reference to him, a lot of times when I've mentioned it to people, is that the book of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. And the title of Mice and Men came from a poem by Robert Burns called, it's a very long title. Give me just a moment. It is, where is it? To a mouse on the turning up of her nest with the plow, November 1785. And there's a line in there that says, the best laid plans of mice and men. Sorry, I always get this wrong. Gang af agli, which basically means it goes, so the best laid plans of men often go poorly, which, if you know the book of Mice and Men, is the story of Lenny and my library friend here, my wife here.
I've just blanked out.
Oh, well, anyway, sorry. We're just going to pretend that part didn't happen. It is the two protagonists of Mice and Men, and their story goes bad. So that's where a lot of people understand where Burns comes from. But anyway, every January 25th, as we go over here and mess with these onions here, I got you. They have a large celebration in honor of their national bard. And part of that is the serving of the haggis. Let me grab these carrots. We're going to put the carrots in next. Let them go for a little bit. And if someone would hand me the mushrooms. Oh, thank you. Mushrooms. Perfect. Now we're going to put these in, and we're going to let these go for another 5 minutes. I'm just going to saute them briefly as we go here. Let that just kind of cook on its own, and those are ready to go. Oh, sorry. But anyway, every January 25th is Burns Night, and it is a massive, massive celebration. There is big family dinners. Obviously, didn't really work out very well this past year. Probably won't this year, honestly, because of the COVID issues that we're having right now. But anyway, the main course of the meal is the haggis, and that is because of the poem by Robert Burns, Address to a Haggis, where he extols the virtues of the national dish. So as that goes there, oh, interesting point about that. The first line or second line of the poem calls haggis the great chieftain of the puddin race, which is interesting because this obviously is not pudding. So pudding is a very malleable term in Scotland. All desserts are pudding. Not all puddings are desserts, obviously, because this is not something you would want after a meal. You want this to be your meal. So basically, the consistency of your haggis, if it's done traditionally and it is wrapped and boiled, kind of becomes sausage-like. And honestly, I'm not sure where I'm going with that because it definitely does not seem to be a pudding issue. But there you are. All right, so next up, as that's going, let's see, what do we need to do next? We need to, oh, here. I need someone to switch. Carrots and shrooms are in cooked ramen. Okay, we need to deal with our kidney beans. Now, interesting thing. The original recipe we have does have egg in it. Now, if you want to go purely vegan, here's a little trick here. This liquid coming off the beans is called aquafaba, and that is an excellent egg substitute. You can use it in multiple dishes. All you have to do is just, for our egg, if you want to swap that out, use 3 tablespoons, of the liquid in substitute of 1 egg. Just add it to the recipe when it's time to go, and you'll be fine. You can use it on other dishes. This actually whips up like a meringue if you put enough work into it. So little vegan tip there for you. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take these beans, we're going to drain them real quick. We're going to rinse them just a couple of times. One more time, get all the liquid off of them. And no, I have not forgotten the stuff on the stove right now. Marty is actually sauteing those for me right now, so no worries there. We're not going to burn anything. All right, we're going to take these. We're going to dump them in our bowl here, and we are going to mash these fairly finely. I'm just going to use a plastic cup. It's just easier. I'm just going to take it and just go to work on them for a while. And this is going to give us most of our meaty texture that we'll have out of this. This will be our substitute. Predominant substitute, I should say. Okay. And just a little bit more. And that delicious looking blend there is just about ready. Let me rinse this off. Okay, now that those are done, what we're going to do is we're going to add several more of our ingredients. Let me swing over here. I'll take that for you. Yeah, no worries. All right, so what we need now is our chicken broth.
Vegetable broth.
I'm sorry, vegetable broth. I stand corrected. It is a vegetarian option, so vegetable broth. And we need, sorry. Sorry. Vegetable broth. I'll put it on there. Oh, 1 cup. I'm sorry. 1 cup of vegetable broth. Now, what will happen, possibly, and this is entirely up to you and how well it cooks, you can actually add a little extra broth after everything's in. I like my veggie haggis to be slightly moist. Marty and Eamon, they have different variations on it. I like the little bit of juiciness to it, if that makes any sense. All right, so we're going to add that in. And if someone could hand me the peanuts and the hazelnuts.
Okay, that's hazelnuts.
Very good. I need to put in 2 tablespoons of the hazelnuts. Yeah, that's fine. All right, 2 tablespoons of hazelnuts. And then we are going to use the peanuts here. We just got to get them measured out a little bit. Give us a second there. All we do is just start stirring that in. Perfect. That's coming. Give us just a second. All right. And roughly 3. 1, 2. We are perfect. And 3 tablespoons of the ground peanuts. All right, we're going to stir those in. This is going much faster than I anticipated. If anyone needs me to slow down, just say slow down. Just, mic in, send us a message. I tend to kind of move a little fast, so I apologize.
Can you talk about the nuts and substitutions?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good idea. Now, excuse me, I just made a little bit of a mess here. You can absolutely substitute the nuts for different ones. If you have a peanut allergy, that's fine. You can use any other, almonds, cashews, anything of that sort. The nuts are, once again, more of a texture thing. They aren't necessarily written in stone, as it were. So you can substitute other nuts out for it. I've substituted almonds out for the peanuts. I've used cashews. Basically, any nut that you like that grinds well should be fine. Oh, yeah. And if you, problem with a lot of times is finding unsalted peanuts. So I just literally just got the bag of the ones that have already been roasted. So you can shell those. It takes a little more time. I mean, if you're lucky enough to find unsalted roasted or unshelled ones, you're great. And also hazelnuts. Hazelnuts are a pain to find. I spent a large portion of the day trying to find them. And right there in the baking section in Kroger, they had them. So after hunting through all the different shops, I was like, well, listen, one last chance. And worst case scenario, we've actually done this. Marty did this, helped me out last time we were prepping this. Found trail mix and fish the nuts out. Hopefully you don't come to that situation where you're having to dig out hazelnuts out of trail mix, but if you have to, there's always that option. So we're gonna let this kind of simmer just a
Mark,
little bit. Yes,
A
ma'am.
question. They want to know, did we put kidney beans in yet?
Not yet. They will be coming up in just a moment, actually. So that's
Okay.
actually our next step. I'm sorry I didn't see that question. I apologize.
I don't see it either.
Huh,
Well,
okay.
enough time, just tell them.
Okay, yes, but we're gonna put in our kidney beans next, actually. So we need 2 tablespoons of kidney beans. I think this will be fine. It has a little bit of nut residue, but I think we're gonna be all right with that. So 1. I tend to go a little heavy on these also because I just like beans. There they are. Set that to one side, please. And we're gonna saute those in also. All right, and then we need to go ahead and get our lentils in. I need 1/3 a cup of lentils. Okay, and my measuring cup. Here we go. 1/3 cup of lentils. Yeah, these are dried lentils. These are not cooked lentils. They will cook during the baking. So that is 1/3. Fantastic. Get those all in. Excuse me. And we'll get that started. I really should have chopped some of this stuff on seed because I'm burning up all the time. Okay, and the key component here we need, I'm sorry, that's 1 1/3 cups of the oats. Could you pass me the oats, please? It should be right there. All right. Now with the oats, you want to use the steel cut. They can be the quick cook oats. I'm sorry, but you want to use the steel cut ones because they have that finer grain there that it's almost pebbly like when you first get it, but they actually cook out. They soften up obviously when they're cooking, but they still have a little bit of crunch to them, which gives it that nice oaty kind of texture, which is what you want in a haggis. So we're going to pour all that in. And just stir that all together. Looks lovely.
Mark.
Right? Yes, ma'am.
They're sending the questions to me. That's why you're not seeing them, but that's all right.
Okay, good.
It said recipe indicated red lentils, but it looked like brown or green lentils were added. Does it make a difference in cooking time?
It does not make a difference in cooking time or flavor. I actually meant to mention that I could not find red lentils. The green ones or the brown ones are perfectly fine. The red just kind of gives it the color a little bit darker, a little darker color like a haggis usually has. So that's what you're looking at. So that is why we specified red, but you can use any lentil type you want, honestly. All right, so that's going in. I need to get the rest of my seasoning in. I need my soy and my lemon. Sorry. So now we're going to add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I'm going to turn the temperature down on this just a wee bit. There we go. As you can see, everything's starting to absorb the liquid. So 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and the soy. Just 1 moment. And 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. 1 tablespoon of soy. And there we go. All right. We're going to mix that all together. And then we're going to add our spices to it. And let's see, I need my thyme.
There's a question that says either regular quick cooking, steel cut oats. Okay.
Yeah, the quick cooking is fine. You can use either. Actually, I prefer to use the quick cooking because it takes a little bit less cooking time to do. So the quick cooking ones are fine. That's what I used, in fact. So we're going to throw in our seasoning now. Let's see, we need 1½ teaspoons of dried thyme. Excuse me, I'm making a mess here. I'm going to move a few things over real quick. Just so I have room to wiggle because I'm stacking everything on top of myself. Okay. Aha, almost lost my time. All right, so we're going to go 1.5 teaspoons of thyme. That is thyme. Yes, that is thyme. Fantastic. 1 and 1/2. That's in. Then we will add the same for 1 teaspoon of rosemary. Oh, we lost something here. Hold on. Okay, we're back. I thought we'd lost you for a second. Sorry about that. 1 teaspoon of thyme. Oh, wrong lid. And just a wee pinch of cayenne pepper. You can go heavier if you like. I just enough to kind of give it a little tiny bit of heat and flavor there. And then I'll put that all together. Okay, and then finally our pumpkin pie spice, which we also do 1.5 teaspoons of that. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get the rest of this thyme out of there. And come on, there you go. 1.5. And it's over here. Okay, once again, we're just going to stir all that together. And one more step. How long have you been at this? Oh, wow. I've only been at it for like a little less than half an hour. This is taking much less time than I anticipated, but that's okay. That's true. Okay, so we're going to walk over this way and we're going to get our egg. Now, once again, 2 options. You can use the aquafaba. You can use 3 tablespoons of this from your beans if you want to not use an egg, or you can just use the egg, which is what I am going to do. Put this over here and grab a wee fork. That'll work. And we're just going to whip that fairly quickly. And we're going to come over here once again and pour that in, almost like you're making fried rice. All right, we're going to get that all nice and in. And here's where all your time's going to come in. So what we do here is we're going to put a lid on this. We're going to put a lid on this. And this needs to sit on low for about 20 minutes. You'll want to stir it periodically, every few minutes to make sure nothing is sticking. If it looks like it's drying out a little bit too much for your taste, you can always throw in a little bit more liquid, more vegetable broth there. But we put this in, put a lid on it, and we let that sit for 20 minutes. And after that point, we're basically done, except for putting it into the oven. This took a lot less time than I anticipated. I apologize. Sure.
Show your apron.
Yeah. No, well, I was told that I needed to show you my Scottish apron. Very fancy. I am a tiny bit of a Scotophile. Sorry, I'm just eating that random piece of onion that was there. So anyway, how did it end up that an American from South Carolina is teaching you guys how to make haggis? It doesn't seem like something that seems normal. Let me throw this in the sink real quick. But and this is tea. It's not whiskey. Just a bit thirsty. So several years ago, I was lucky enough, actually, thanks to my wife, we were heading over to the UK to do a race, I guess in 2014. And our anniversary. I'm sorry, races and anniversary. And we are going to go over to England, and Marty had this idea of going to Scotland. I was like, oh, Scotland sounds kind of cool, maybe. And she's like, you understand the highest mountain in the UK is in Scotland. And immediately it's like, ping, yeah, we need to go. Because I'm a huge fan of mountain climbing and running and that sort of thing.
And what's at the bottom of
Oh, and yes, at the bottom of the mountain, there is a wonderful whiskey distillery. And so we landed in Glasgow, and I was hooked from the moment we got into the city center. I was like, this is the most beautiful place I've ever been. I need to be here. So we've been able to manage, except for 2020, to go back every year, and just go and enjoy the countryside. We fly in, I've been smart enough, lucky enough, I guess, I wouldn't say smart enough, to figure out a way to go hiking for about an 8-day, 100-mile hike through the Highlands every year. And for some reason, people find out about it and go, I want to do that too, set it up for me. And so it's kind of a summertime side hustle I do. So yeah, that's how I ended up being just madly in love with Scotland. I love the country. I love the cities there. I love the people. It's the place that I plan on getting to eventually and just retiring and pretending to raise goats. I'll just let them run wild through the countryside and we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's how you ended up with me, the American from South Carolina, trying to teach a class on making vegetarian haggis. So what we're going to do, back to this, is we're going to let this sit for 20 minutes, stirring it occasionally. And after we get our 20-minute point, we're just going to toss it again. And what we'll do is, once it's all good to go, it looks like this will be obviously a little bit drier when yours is done. We'll pop it into the oven at 375 for another 20 minutes. That puts a nice little kind of crust on the surface, kind of gives time for all the flavors to blend together. When you're done, it will come out looking like this. Obviously, it's not round and stuffed into a sheep's belly, but we make do as we can.
Could we make it a roll?
You could absolutely make it a roll if you want. I was looking at options of doing that. You could literally cook it as a mound. You could, I'm thinking maybe cheesecloth and rolling it into the shape and then baking it that way. It'll take a little bit longer to bake, but it's predominantly cooked when it comes off the skillet anyway. So yeah, you can experiment with the shapes and everything. It's cooked, so you're just more of a case of getting it blended. We have a question here. If you have extra time, could you share your quick go-to vegetarian meal and or whatever vegetables you always have it on hand at home? We just discovered cooked spinach, for example, with goat cheese. Love it. Okay, full disclosure, I'm not a vegetarian. So I do try to eat more vegetables than I have previously, but things that we always have on hand in our house. We always have spinach, of course. Spinach goes into everything in our house. It doesn't matter what it is. We always have spinach on hand. Lentils, chickpeas. There are great recipes out there you can use as meat substitutes. Marty's pulling out carrots now. But there's actually a fantastic, there are fantastic like black bean burger recipes out there you can look up. Black beans are always a good thing to have. Chickpeas can be made into almost anything. I make a really, really good falafel with chickpeas. Well, obviously chickpeas has falafel in it. Falafel has chickpeas in it anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on how to substitute things out. The internet's a great asset. Let's just put it that way. Marty's trying to wave something at me here.
That's one of our.
Oh yes, the oven baked carrot fries.
Yeah, we use carrots for oven baked fries. So I don't know, since we have time, I don't know if you want to talk about any of that. We're talking about.
No, I'm sorry. It is 375 for 20 minutes. It is not. No. What are the baking? Oh, baking details. I'm sorry. You need to have that at 375, and I use a 9x13 pan. If you're going to use a larger pan, just decrease this time a little bit. Maybe if you're going to use this size pan, maybe use 15 minutes as opposed to 20 minutes on like a 5x9 pan. Basically, all you're really doing at this point is just letting all this flavors settle and just kind of get a nice little crust to it a little bit on the top part of it, so it's a little more solidified. Like I said before, I like mine a little mushy. I know it's weird, but I just kind of like that texture. So yeah, you can actually tweak this a little bit. One thing I did leave out of the recipe is I did leave pepper out because I like mine very peppery, but it's a lot easier to add pepper to it after the fact. If you're not a big fan of it, you can kind of adjust it from there. Okay.
Let's talk about what it says it's not legal here.
Oh yeah, another reason we're making vegetarian haggis here is because you can't get it in the U.S. There's the whole meat issue with it. You can try to bring it in. I'm not saying you would, but I've had people who've tried to bring it in and get caught at customs or something. You can actually order the real deal haggis from American suppliers, but it is crazy expensive because they're having to do substitutes, and I'm guessing that there are some FDA issues they're having to skirt. So it's a lot easier. Obviously, it only takes about a half hour to do everything in once you have it prepped. Okay. I think that's basically it on how to make the haggis. Does anyone have any questions about it? Anything about Scotland you want to know about? Any questions at all that I can fill up some time with? I'll happily answer. Oh, okay. Yes. Served with what? Gravy, ketchup, plain, could be baked in a pan left. Great question. The traditional meal is haggis, neeps, and tatties, which is turnips and potatoes. Now, I like to do it as a mashed turnip and a mashed potato. I've actually done it. Sometimes you do a honey glazed, like roasted turnip, which is a nice little sweet after to it. Yeah, those are the traditional things, but whatever you want. Ketchup.
I don't know if you want to, okay.
Ketchup will probably get you in trouble with the Scottish. Yeah, ketchup's not really a thing. They have ketchup. They call it red sauce. But if you're gonna put anything on it, you're gonna want to put like brown sauce on it. The HP's brown sauce. It's more of like a steak saucy kind of flavor. But yeah, if you tell a Scotsman that you're putting ketchup on the haggis, you may get banned from the country. You may get summarily escorted out of the country. But yeah, I mean, I like doing it with the traditional way with potatoes and turnips. You can make a salad with it. It's really up to you. Ketchup was a joke. Americans, that is true. Americans do love their ketchup. So I can't argue that one. What I've actually done with the vegetarian haggis before is I've had leftover one and I'll cut it into almost like a slice since it's in a pan, and I'll grill that in a skittle and make sandwiches out of it, almost like a meatloaf sandwich. And you just throw a little bit in, and I'll put like a little hot sauce and a little spinach because that's what I do. And it's fantastic. So that's an option. Any more questions? Anything about the haggis, about Scotland, about going hiking in the mountains in Scotland? I've got time.
So. Could you guys show the haggis again? I'm going to take a picture of it. So
absolutely. Here you go. Now, when you use the red lentils, it'll have a slightly darker color to it.
All right. Thank you. Also, could everybody send me a message saying where they're from with using Eventbrite to advertise, and Facebook, and this being on Zoom? I've found that some of our classes, we have people from all over the country, and I'm thinking we even have some people who are signing up from out of country. So if you guys could send me, oh yes, we have somebody from Kent, UK, Canada.
I was just about to point out the Kent. We have friends who live in Deal, so that's fantastic.
Delaware, like London. Nicola's from London. All right. Oh, we have somebody in South Carolina. Awesome. So yes, we're doing kind of an audit thing where we put where people are from, so that when I tell the boss about how well these classes are going, he can then see that we are we're going nationwide and actually worldwide by the look of it. Oh, wow.
Oh, perfect. We have a question real quick. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. We have a question from Susan. She did you use a couple of tablespoons of the mashed beans? Not the whole can. Yeah, you only use 2 tablespoons of the mashed beans. I just mashed them all because I like beans, and I'm just going to make bean dip afterwards with the rest of it. It's just easier for me just to mash the whole can and then try and figure out the measurements. But yeah, I mean, it's only a couple of tablespoons of mashed beans. I have done it with more if you want to have use it as a filler, not a filter. I apologize. And you can just kind of up the spice from there. But yeah, the recipe calls for just the 2 tablespoons. All right. Any other questions? It appears not. All right. So anyway, I want to thank everybody again for coming out and tolerating my speed recipe there. It looks like we'll have the whole thing on YouTube. Is that correct?
Yes, the video will be on YouTube probably next week sometime. And Mark is going to send me the recipe, and we are for these cooking classes, we are doing cookbooks that will be available at the end of the year. And pretty soon we'll have last year's cookbook available for a $5 donation on our website, atlanticinstitute.org. So go and look for that. And if you're interested, just let me know.
Okay.
Yes, you will have access to the recording if you go to Atlantic Institute SC on YouTube. All of our cooking demos are out there that we've done so far. And yes, you will be able to see everything that Mark has done so far.
And you can slow it down so you don't have to hear me rush through it.
Yeah, you can pause him.
I've decided I'm going to give this a bot. Oh, well, where do you stay in Scotland? Where do you camp? We usually fly into Glasgow and we'll stay at a hostel there. And then we go up the West Highland Way, which is a 96.4 mile trail. There's campsites all the way around, all the way down the trail. If you want to stay at B&Bs, they have those. They have hostels that you can stay in. It's really easy to do this cheaply once you get there. It's not a super expensive trip. I mean, average campsite cost is going to run you probably about 7 to 10 pounds per person. You can actually, if you want to light pack it, they have companies that will actually transfer your bags from point to point. So that's a huge thing. I usually take the entire pack because you never know what you're going to need, but that's also an option. So yeah, I mean, that trail, the West Highland Way, is very accessible. It's a moderately difficult trail that we do. But yeah, it's very easy to do. So if you, I'm trying to think if there's any way to get up with me. In fact, let me just type an email here. And if anyone has any questions about any of this, feel free to contact me. I will be happy to talk myself stupid about it. Let me type this in real quick, one-handed. Did I get that accurate? That is accurate. Okay, that is my email. If you have any questions about the cooking class, anything about Scotland, anything about the camping, hiking part of it, I'll be happy to go into it. In fact, I'll probably begin to annoy you about it. So heads up ahead of time.
Maybe say that you're in B&B versus hostels.
Oh yeah, and also you can also look at Airbnb versus hostels. Marty made a very good point. A lot of times the Airbnbs are going to be at the same price and sometimes possibly slightly cheaper than staying at a hostel. Right now, hostel prices in Glasgow, I guess it's because of COVID, have gone through the roof. But you can find a hotel room if you're going to start off, say, in a city and then tour around. Yeah, definitely look at Airbnb options, look at hostel options. There are low cost, decent accommodations out there if you do a little bit of searching. And once again, if you have questions, let me know. I'll send you where I go. So you'll have I wouldn't call an expert resource, but someone who's done it a few times and knows where's, the best options may be for you. Oh, and also great thing on the trails, there are little farm huts and a lot of the trails you can find out ahead of time called bothies. Now these are turn of the century, possibly older farm huts that have been reclaimed by the county that they're in, and they're open and free for campers and hikers. You literally just walk in, you can throw down a tent, or not a tent, I'm sorry, a sleeping bag, and sleep inside there. And there's usually, not all of them have electricity, some of them are very primitive, but there's usually a fireplace, there's a couple of tables. There is always the possibility that you may end up in a bothy with 12 other people who decide that it's time to party all night inside the bothy. So that's a risk you have to take. But the thing is, if you have a tent, you can always well, you know what? I'm not feeling hanging out with these college kids all night. I'm going to move 100 yards down towards the loch or into the woods and throw a tent up. Now, the only thing that you have to really worry about the camping in that area, in the Loch Lomond area, is that there is restricted camping by the loch from, I think it is March until October, because it was getting overwhelmed. But that's something we could talk about if you guys want to actually get up with me. We can discuss that in length. We won't hold everybody else here. I'm going to have a bite of my haggis. See if I heard that here. And let's see what we got here. Oh, cool. That's looking really good. Sorry. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty good at this. So, all right. If anyone else has any questions, shoot me an email. Is there anything else we need to share that I don't know about?
No, we are good. Thank you very much. Again, everybody, if you shoot me where you're coming in from, and if you didn't have a last name with yours, if you could put your last name in there as well so that I make sure I get it under the right person. Thank you again, Mark. Check out the Atlantic Institute. We're not only doing cuisine of different cultures, we are now doing cultural creations, which is like craft and hobby things. Also, if anybody would like to be a demonstrator host for either the creations or the cooking demos, please let me know. I would love it. Mark.
Oh yeah, just one more thing. If anyone does want to stick around, I've got nothing else going for a little while. I can chat with people, send messages, whatever. In the meantime, if you want to talk about it now, that's fine. If I'll stick around for a few minutes, see if anyone pops in, and if not, you guys have a great one. Slán Java.
Thank you, Mark. I am going to stop the recording now.
Okay, fantastic. Have a good one.